Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 10th, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. We got ongoing thunderstorms here across eastern Oregon. That's going to continue on in through the day today. We had some active weather yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit here, and we'll scroll back into the past and kind of take a look at that right now. In fact, this is as we were going through the afternoon hours. You can see these thunderstorms erupting across the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington up into British Columbia. You see the spin in the atmosphere here across portions of Oregon. As we went through the day, some of the thunderstorms crept out towards Mount Rainier. You could see them from some of the Seattle metro there as well. And you can see some of those moved out across some of the Willamette Valley. Look at I-5 corridor, some lightning strikes out there. This is about what, 5, almost 6 o'clock p.m. And you can see that we had those thunderstorms start to die off a bit there. But we still had this cluster right there across north central Oregon pushing up towards the Washington border. And then we go off into the nighttime hours and overnight hours. Now we're back in towards this morning. You can see the thunderstorms ongoing. So we're still dealing with this trough here. Then we're going to get a little bit of a ridge trying to build in. And then we got another system that's going to be rolling in as we go towards the weekend coming up here. So let's take a look at the last 24 hours. This should make, this should be no surprise. This should make sense with what we just looked at. Lightning strikes over the last 24 hours. You can see those creeping out towards Mount Rainier, Washington Cascades. And as far as smoke is concerned, we still have some drifting around, and it's drifting back towards some of the Seattle and Portland metro as well. This should be a loft. So you're going to see some haze in the skies and whatnot, but we're not looking at a huge smoke storm or anything, but there's still a decent amount of smoke in the atmosphere from some of these fires. So we need to see these troughs continue to roll through. And hopefully we can start to cool things down a little bit here and kind of keep things on shore and bring some precipitation. But we'll take a look at the latest on that here in the extended forecast in a minute. So thunderstorm outlook today does include the Cascades of Washington. Not as much coverage as what went on yesterday, almost certainly. And there's day 2. It starts to push off to the east a little bit more. Now, here's where we are right now. There's that upper level low that's been causing this thunderstorm activity. We put this into motion. You can see it creeping and crawling across California, pushing towards Nevada there. A little bit of a transient ridge. This is the ridge right here. We get the sinking air, a little bit warmer conditions, a few less clouds, and then the trough would be back here across the Gulf of Alaska. Not a deep trough or anything, but definitely a trough here, ridge, and then the upper level low or the trough right there across the Intermountain West. So we scroll on in towards this weekend. You can see the next frontal system approaching the Oregon, Washington, Vancouver coastline there as we go on in through Sunday, bringing another round of precipitation here for some areas. And then what comes after that, still in some question. Are we going to get a ridge to build? Is this trough going to be progressive and move through and kind of keep us a little bit cooler than we would if this ridge were to set up over us? And we'll take a look at that in the extended forecast here in a minute. Now, looking at composite reflectivity, this is the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 60 hours. And as we go through the afternoon today, you can see where the abundance of thunderstorms will be is across some of the Oregon Cascades, eastern Oregon, southeast Oregon, maybe down towards some of the Treasure Valley areas too, as you get some thunderstorms moving through as we go through this afternoon and evening. Washington State, not nearly as active again today as yesterday, but as we scroll in towards Thursday morning, see some of this moisture here moving out of the east towards the west. It's wraparound moisture with this upper level low. This could cause some thunderstorms near Spokane, maybe down towards Ritzville there. Eastern Washington, southeast Washington, Lewiston, and northeast Oregon. Still going to get another round of thunderstorms there tomorrow on the day Thursday. And then we go through Friday morning. Still that low kind of creeping and crawling here, pushing off very slowly to the east. We'll still be bringing some showers to go through Friday afternoon. Then you can see the next system start to ramp up here for Vancouver Island as we go towards the end of the run. This is hot off the press. It's not even done running yet. It's a 12Z North American model. It started running at 5 a.m. this morning. So similar thing here on the high resolution rapid refresh. Again, Oregon's going to be the winner of thunderstorms here again today. But as we go through the day on Thursday, there is a chance for some of this wraparound to come back through places like Spokane and some of eastern Washington there as well. Lewiston, Idaho Panhandle as we go through the day on Thursday. And Friday morning, you still see this wraparound moisture around with some thunderstorm potential. Now, this is kind of an interesting look at things. This is our system right here. There's Washington, the Pacific Northwest. There's the Hawaiian Islands. Japan is way over here. And if you look over there, it's Greenland. There's the North Pole, Northern Hemisphere, and you can see the tropopause is not as tall as it is according when you compare it to the equatorial regions there. So we get this battleground in between known as the mid-latitudes, and that's why we get these mid-latitude cyclones into the Pacific Northwest a lot as we go on into the fall and the winter months. And as the sun starts to the direct rays of the sun start to move south of the equator as we go through about September 21st, and we start to move into fall. And of course, with less sunshine, the northern hemisphere starts to get colder, and this cold pool starts to develop more, and we get the contrast to develop between the equatorial regions and the polar regions, and the jet stream starts to increase, starts to sag a bit further south, and that's why we start to get more active here in the Pacific Northwest as we go through the fall and the winter months. So if I put this into motion, you can kind of see this moving. Looks like a big purple octopus there across the northern hemisphere. And you can kind of see how these ridges and troughs move across the region. Look at this ridge up towards the Hudson Bay system moving through the Pacific Northwest right there. Another ridge tries to move through the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through next week, at least temporarily. So, but yeah, kind of an interesting look at things. Just thought I'd break things down a little bit for you. I know people have a lot of questions about this. And corresponding wind speeds there at 300 millibars, about 30,000 feet. Otherwise known as the jet stream. If I put this into motion, you can kind of see how it mimics what I just showed you with the purple octopus moving there. That is the boundary between the warmer air across some of the subtropical and the tropical regions, and the cooler air there across the northern hemisphere. And again, as that temperature contrast grows and the sun's direct rays start to more concentrate on the southern hemisphere, it starts to become colder. The jet stream gets stronger and it sinks further south. And also, this is what's known as the polar jet here. You can see it moving across portions of northern Japan, across the North Pacific Ocean, and this is the subtropical jet stream. You notice that it's not as strong. Now, taking a look at a wider view of the Pacific Ocean, there's Washington State, there's the Hawaiian Islands, bottom center there, and there's Japan to the far left. So if I put that into motion, again, you can kind of see the jet stream, how it moves and shows its ridges and troughs as we go on through the extended forecast. This is the artificial intelligence. And as we go on in towards the end of September, you can see that ridge right here. There's a trough, another ridge, trough. So this wave pattern goes all across the planet, as you saw. Now, taking a look here at the artificial intelligence ensemble mean. So it has 50 members here, and it puts all these members in there, and it kind of averages things out. We know this trough is here, so we got good model agreement on that. Trough swinging through, a little bit of a ridge builds here as we go towards Thursday and Friday. Then the next system rolls in here, bringing additional rounds of precipitation right there, another trough. And then we go through the extended forecast, and we take a look to see, look at that ridge that wants to build off our coastline as we go on into the following week here. So we'll kind of see if we're going to bounce back some of these temperatures here. We're getting to that time of year though where it's really difficult to warm us up too much here across Pacific Northwest, but we can still get things like offshore winds, dry conditions, and we could revive some of those fires a little bit here, but we're not looking at, probably the amount of smoke that we did have produced, even if we get a decent, warm spell. So anyway, taking a look at the precipitation over the next 15 days, artificial intelligence continues to show drier than normal here for some western portions. Still some central and eastern Oregon above normal. We look at the European, it shows something similar. This is yesterday afternoon's run, and the GFS is kind of on board. So pretty good model agreement for below normal precipitation over the next couple of weeks here for Seattle, Portland, Southwest BC, but Oregon. And of course, that's how it works out, because Oregon and eastern Oregon are not dealing with drought. Washington, definitely a much more drought-stricken state, so that doesn't line up well also. Now, the GFS, when I show these ensemble runs, the GFS has 30 members. The control run is at the top. That's the initial conditions, best we understand them. And then it's got 30 ensemble members where we tweak these initial conditions, and then we let it run out to see what kind of errors we may have, and to see what is possible here. If we tweak our initial conditions and maybe make up for some of those errors, we can try to see which ensemble members are going to be more accurate, if you would. And then you can kind of get an ensemble mean and a better picture of what may be occurring. So this is, I believe, a 6-hour precipitation here, and you can kind of see a system moving through here as we go through this upcoming weekend for Seattle. The European has 50 ensemble members, and this is 24-hour precipitation. So you can see each individual ensemble member, and if you're so inclined, you can actually look and see each run of these ensemble members as well, which comes in handy when you start to get off into the fall season here, because you can see as we go through the later portion of September, there are a few fantasy windstorms out there, nothing too exceptionally strong, but it doesn't take a lot at this time of year with lots of leaves on trees and all the weakened trees and branches from summertime and the drought we've had across our region. So I tend to watch this a little bit more as we start to get into September to see if there's any fantasy forecast or fantasy windstorm there lurking off in the fantasy forecast. So Portland International, here's the artificial intelligence, also has 50 members as well, 24-hour precipitation for Portland. And you kind of see that system as we go through this upcoming weekend, and then you can see what's coming out there. But yeah, 50 Ensemble members with that one also. So anyway, let's go back to what's happening right now. National Blended Models, daily 2-meter max temperatures. As we go through today and tomorrow, you can see temperatures not too extreme there, and some nice conditions, pretty comfortable. There's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not much changes coming up. A little bit of a warming trend maybe towards the end of the forecast again if that ridge does try to build in through our extended forecast. Total precipitation in inches. You see, this is our upper level low. Again, kind of targeting Oregon as it's pushing off to the east. And again, some of that could be wrapped around towards Spokane here and some of the Idaho Panhandle a little bit more than what it's showing. And then the next system rolls through as we go through the weekend. That would be on Sunday night on into Monday. Bring some precipitation across the Puget Sound. It's not a lot, but we'll take whatever Mother Nature wants to throw our way. Now, looking at the extended forecast, this one goes out 46 days. This is just kind of for fun, really. And then you can see the upper level low swinging through. Next one swings through this week. And then after that, there's some question on what is going to happen because the extended forecast continues to build quite a robust ridge here, which would warm us up pretty dramatically through the end of September and kind of keep us warm and keep that ridging around as we go through the early portion of October as well. Look at that ridge there on October 1st, right on the west coast of North America. So we'll see how this turns out. Gonna put that in your back pocket and try to remember that and see where we go with that as we get a bit closer to it. Now, you can kind of see that we can warm things back up at this time of year. I mean, Seattle, look at this, into the 80s as we go through the later portion of September. If we did get a ridge like that, and then you can see if we do continue that ridging, you can stay in the 80s as you get on into early October if you line things up just right. So we may not be done with this pretty warm conditions just yet, but again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm just basically showing you what is possible. And the 2-meter temperature anomaly, if we were to do that, some of that ridging here as we go, you can kind of see if I'm scrolling through the entire 46-day period here, pretty warm signal showing up in the European extended forecast. But again, take that with a bit of a grain of salt. And also, I thought I'd show you the precipitation amounts. Look at this 46-day anomaly, well below normal for Seattle, Western Oregon, Western BC, Vancouver Island. So let's hope that does not happen. And as we go on in through the September and month and then on in through October, look at Whistler. Some of the ensemble members starting to show up with some snowfall. You can see it's funny because the control run is one of the very few that has absolutely no snowfall for Whistler, but that's bound to change. Just thought I'd show you that. Change of the seasons will be upon us soon. Stevens Pass, something similar there as well. Some snow starts to show up in the ensemble members as we go through the month of October. There's Bumping Ridge out there by the Wildcat Fire. So 6 to 10 day above normal signal there across Pacific Northwest. There's kind of the mixed bag there, a 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, and the 8 to 14 day above, and a mixed bag there as well. Check out the Patreon page if you want to help support the channel. If you donate here, it allows creators to keep more of your hard-earned money that you are donating. So anyway, yeah, so I do have some control of the channel back. I was able to sign in on my smartphone, and I have the ability to change my channel name if I wanted to. I actually updated the logo, so you can probably see that now as well. It's no longer that green P. But yeah, so I still can't log in and make changes on my desktop or my laptop or anything like that. So there's still some work to be done. I'm thinking about doing a video kind of wrapping things up so I can remember. I've learned more than probably 99% of the people on the planet want to know about Google security practices and YouTube security practices. Kind of a mishmash of things, and I've had a 80+ email chain going on with them. And to their credit, they have been very responsive, and they have sent password resets when I've needed it. So not all has been terrible, but I think there could be some improvement on their side as far as how they deal with creators once they've identified that they are who they say they are. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, I'm not going to get into too much of a rant again about that. I'll do that in a separate video if needed. What else? Yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the weather, and I will talk to you guys later.